And we're live. Maybe. I don't know. I always have to check now. Welcome aboard. This is Spilling COVFEFE. I'm your host, your Kevinly father. Just taking a look around the webs this morning. We don't have an agenda here. Let me refresh the chat room and see. Okay, so Marcy's in there. It's just no one else has chatted. So good morning, Marcy. Not even going to ring the bell. It's too early. I'm so upset about Obama's party. There were people there, fully vaccinated, and they weren't wearing masks. And it was outside. There's a child there under 12, and he refused to take the vaccine that he can't have. Oh, Candace Owens is on today. She's always amusing. Hmm. I don't know. It wasn't letting me fast forward or pause or rewind. Oh, the signal's terrible too. Oh, I don't even have the internet plugged in. Marcy, just might be you and me today, so we'll have a little discussion. Big thanks to Marcy, everyone, specifically Marcy. Let me check and see if the chat function is actually working here. We go to where are we? Okay, live studio. No, 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 don't. Uh-oh, am I gonna kill the broadcast? I'm not sure what's going on. Let's go back to the actual event. How do I see how we're doing here? Well, okay, so it is going through. Um, at least that's what someone says. Hold on. All right, so there's Kramer. Kramer never gets on TV. North Dakota, South Dakota. I think North Dakota. Hold on. I gotta connect the real internet here. All right. Sorry, guys. The internet here at the Pembroke studio is kind of a pokey little puppy sometimes. So now we're hardwired, so we might be more consistent here. Again, let me go in and just check and see if you guys are even seeing this. Let's go back to Restream chat, and there we go. Okay, and they're coming through. Okay, excellent. Mm. Morning, Stephanie. Morning, Ann. Um, we don't need any of the Dakotas at all, let alone both of them. That whole thing should just be Montana throughout the middle, all of that space in there. Way too many states. The same people who are like, we hate big government, we need less government, are, yeah, come on, all those states need to be separate. We need five Department of Motor Vehicles amongst the five Department of Power, five Department, everything. Mic up. You mic up. Okay. So I can't hear any of you guys. I'm just being quiet. It's the morning. Morning, Sydney. Good morning, Ruth Ann. And don't tell me mic up because we haven't even heard these guys yet. They might be being really loud. I'm going to reload all of this because it's not letting me fast forward or rewind or anything. So today's just, this Sunday's working out to be really just a day. Uh, okay, well, they just started. So let's go to Fox News Sunday. Just started. Meet the Press. This week with George. I can't watch This Week in George. They always give us a copyright strike. Turn your volume up because it looks like I'm coming through okay. And says I was on Twitter and it showed up, so it just auto puts me on Periscope, I guess. Yeah, Periscope was supposed to be done, and yet people are still coming in on Periscope, so I'm not sure what the whole thing is there. Let's do this. Let's find you guys a little something to watch right off the bat, and what shall we watch? A little Fox News Sunday. I like to watch a little Fox. Oh, you know what? We gotta watch some. I'll start Fox and Friends for you guys, so you can be so you know how to start the week being outraged. I'm sure there's some violence in Chicago they can talk about, and I'm sure they will be talking about Obama's party. So hold on. You don't have to switch in. You're fine. You can just be wherever you want to. YouTube tends to be a fast
on Fox Nation.
Oh, shh. So noisy. That's really noisy in my ears. I don't know how it is in you guys. Okay, so they like to start off the weekends with America the Beautiful or God Bless America or whatever. And it's all fine here.
Right. Well, we do have a big morning for you, starting with a Fox News alert. A shooting, leaving one Chicago police officer dead and another fighting for his life.
Two suspects.
Yeah, Chicago violence. So they're just so predictable. Yeah, Chicago's a really violent city. They've got a gun problem. They've had a gun problem for years. But as you know, the problem is not guns. You guys watch. I'll be back in a second here.
Are in custody while a third is still on the run.
Jackie Ibanez has the latest. Jackie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Well, police say the shooting happened during a traffic stop on a car with 3 people inside. Although the exact details are still under investigation this morning, someone shot at the officers who returned fire. Dispatch audio revealing the chaos. Listen.
Shots fired at the police. Give me 2 ambulances needed for 2 officers down, 2 officers down. Get forward, we got them coming, baby, we got them coming.
The 2 officers were rushed to the hospital where one of them died from her injuries. The other is in critical condition this morning. One of the 2 suspects in custody was also shot and taken to the hospital. He is in stable condition. A third suspect, a woman, is still on the run. Police say a gun was recovered at the scene. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Police First Deputy Superintendent Eric Carter asked the city to pray for the officers, their families, and the whole department.
It's just another example of how the Chicago Police Department and these officers put their lives above that of others to protect this city day in, day out.
Our officers are fearless in the face of danger. They run to danger to protect us. We can never forget that.
A procession was held for the fallen officer who had been with the department since 2018. She is the first Chicago officer shot and killed in the line of duty since Mayor Lightfoot took office back in 2019. And guys, it's been a violent weekend in the city. Police say a total of 30 people were shot, 3 of them fatally, just since Friday. Guys?
All right, Jackie, thanks so much.
Jackie.
I swear these are my least favorite stories. One of my least favorite stories to talk about, especially when it comes to police officers being shot when they're there to defend you. It happened during a traffic stop, and those are very dangerous. Traffic stops, anything that's related to domestic violence, things like that. But it just goes to show that these officers put themselves on the lines. They want to go home to their families too. And unfortunately, that female officer did not get that chance. And then there is a male officer fighting for his life.
Jackie, I know you have a personal connection to all of these
Ashley.
stories. I'm sorry, Ashley.
We
I was
just
listening
it's
to
okay.
Jackie and thinking about your story because I know who you are and I know your personal connection to these kind of stories because your husband is an NYPD officer. Your fiance is a NYPD officer. And what struck me in listening to that report is, and it sounds cold and it sounds removed, but it's a connection to the truth, and it's the numbers. We talk about these stories with officers, but you think about the numbers that add up, of the number of officers that are killed in the line of duty. On top of that, you think about the number of people that were killed in Chicago this past weekend, and then you think about the attention that one single incident where something goes bad in an officer interaction and an unarmed person is killed in an interaction. Compare those numbers. We should put them side by side because we do not give enough attention to the officers who lose their lives in these interactions. And by the way, the innocent people, which we do talk about in places like Chicago, that die every weekend.
It's so true. It's what makes the profession so different. I mean, we get prepared in the morning to do a morning show, and the last thing on our mind is, may someone shoot at us this morning?
Right.
Whereas if you're a law enforcement officer, and you mentioned it, a traffic stop seems like the most basic or pedestrian thing.
You
see it all the time. It's dangerous in and of itself, traffic flying.
A traffic stop is not a pedestrian thing. It's the opposite of a pedestrian thing. But okay.
By, but you never know.
I will just say, this is Europe. Imagine the reaction in a true freedom-loving country. And
That's
I do
right.
mean to distinguish Paris and France from the United States of America.
Wait, did he say killed in an erection? Did he? Well, we'll go back.
Thing.
drive by
You
it
see
every
it
day.
all the time. It's dangerous in and of itself, traffic flying by, but you never know what you're approaching at that door, at that window.
Right.
And so God bless the family of that
Is it before this?
officer.
Good morning, Josh.
But it's a connection to the truth, and it's the
All right, well, watch this
themselves on
again.
the lines. They want to go home to their families too. And unfortunately, that female officer did not get that chance. And then there
You know what? It's even if they did, it's a police officer getting, yeah, it's just sad.
is a male officer fighting for his life.
Jackie, I know you have a personal connection to all of these
Ashley.
stories. I'm sorry, Ashley.
We
I was
just
listening
it's
to
okay.
Jackie and thinking about your story because I know who you are and I know your personal connection to these kind of stories because your husband is an NYPD officer, your fiance is a NYPD officer. And what struck me in listening to that report is, and it sounds cold and it sounds removed, but it's a connection to the truth, and it's the numbers. You know, we talk about these stories with officers, but you think about the numbers that add up, of the number of officers that are killed in the line of duty. On top of that, you think about the number
He did say duty.
of people that were killed in Chicago this past weekend, and then you think about the attention that one single incident where something goes bad in an officer interaction and an unarmed person is killed in an interaction. Compare those numbers.
He kind of ran over it, but yeah, he said interaction.
We
Here we go.
looking at
This is
on your
Paris
screen.
Saturday. You guys, I was going to do the Trump thing later, the Trump interview. We can do it this morning as well. Just kind of rush through it. I mean, not rush through it, but it's not very long.
On the streets of Paris. Now, we'll just say, this is Europe. Imagine the reaction in a true freedom-loving country. And
That's
I do
right.
mean to
Oh, so France. France is not a freedom-loving country. I mean, they overthrew the monarchy there and put them on the guillotine, but the guillotine, but they don't love freedom. Not in France. The democracy that's about, what, 5 years younger than ours gave us the Statue of Liberty. Liberty. But they imagine if this was happening in a real freedom-loving country.
distinguish Paris and France from the United States of America. Imagine the streets of America if Dr. Fauci is
It would look just like that. A lot of red, white, and blue.
right, and we can expect a flood of mandates.
That's exactly right. This is the fourth straight weekend of
Hold on, let me just make sure my microphone is coming in as the correct microphone. Give me just a second here, guys. Well, you guys can still listen to this here.
protest, estimates between 100 and 200,000 protesters there in France. A preview of what could be coming here. Because, as you mentioned, I mean, you listen to what Dr. Fauci's saying. It's ever moving. The science in his mind is ever evolving, which always means more control and more mandates. And here's a portion of what Dr. Fauci is predicting. He said to USA Today, here's a quote. Organizations, enterprises, universities, colleges that have been reluctant to mandate at the local level will feel much more confident. They can say, if you want to come to this college or university, you've got to get vaccinated. If you want to work in this plant, you have to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
If you want to work in this enterprise, you have to get vaccinated. If you want to work.
I do remember freedom fries. That's because the folks, the liberty-hating folks in France, wouldn't get with us in the whole Iraq War thing. So we renamed everything. Everything French became freedom. So there were freedom fries in the basement of the Capitol. By the way, so they stayed listed on the menu as freedom fries for like 20 years. Not 20 years. Fewer than that, obviously, because it hasn't even been 20 years. It'll be 20 years in next month. 20 years. If I sound like I'm in a tin can, it might be that you're on Bluetooth headphones.
In this hospital, you have to get vaccinated. All of a sudden, your decision not to get vaccinated goes beyond your own vacuum and influences society. This statement comes, as he says, once this
I didn't do that, but okay.
vaccine gets FDA approval. So he's saying right now it's emergency use, and that's holding us back. They anticipate federal approval, and when they get that, he's predicting a flood of mandates across the board.
But my question for the mandates for the vaccine, what about the people like the gentleman I'm going to interview here in about 10 minutes? He has.
Going to up the quality for you guys. This has been really poor quality so far. And
Has a health condition that his mother's a doctor, said you can't take this because of the risks that it posed for you if you took that vaccine. What about the people who have had COVID within the past?
Well, no, people who had COVID can get COVID again, so they got to get vaccinated, and they can spread COVID again. We know this. Lots and lots and lots of people get COVID a second time, and the body treats different variants as completely new viruses, which is what they are. But for some reason, we call them variants. All viruses are variants of original viruses, but they're variants now, just within a certain amount of time.
90 days, they've been told by their
Yeah, no, it'll be the anniversary of September 11th, but it won't be the anniversary of the war.
doctors, do not take this. So it's just leaving them out in the open. It's like, where do they go? What do they do? They can't go to a restaurant. They can't go to a concert because this is a blanketed approach. It doesn't seem
No, they have a medical exemption.
right.
And the weird
But anyway, if you can't receive the vaccine, then no, you shouldn't be going to concerts. That's just you should be protecting yourself. And I'm sorry that you can't have the vaccine, but that's just the way it is. If you're in a wheelchair, you can't take that building that has stairs, and accommodations can be made, etc. But some old buildings you just can't go in. That's just the way it is. Life sucks sometimes. I cannot play on the Olympic basketball team. It's just the way it is.
weirdest part of this entire national conversation, you have to guess, purposeful ignorance of the
There's like 3% of the population that can't receive the vaccine, or the vaccine has very little effect on. If you're immunocompromised, you can take the vaccine. I'm not a doctor, and this is not. Of course, some of them can't, but some of them can. In fact, I know somebody who's recovering from cancer, knock on wood, and she's had the vaccine twice. There's no antibodies. Her body just won't produce because her immune system is so compromised, it just doesn't know what to do. So they put the vaccine in, body's like, okay, move it on. She hasn't produced the antibodies. And the last I talked to her, they're trying to give her a booster. But she's basically sheltering in place, which she's been doing since the beginning of all this, because you obviously don't want to catch this.
those who have had
Oh, I totally want to be on the synchronized swimming team now that Leslie Jones is doing the commentary.
COVID and have natural immunity.
Do they even call it synchronized swimming anymore? Or is it now like in unison dance, swim time, water?
Totally left out of the conversation. It's so wild that they are not included.
It is amazing, because 3 months is one thing, but there's plenty of data out there and other doctors that suggest it's much longer than that.
I know people personally who have had antibodies for 8 months. They are tested every month, and they still
Right, and those antibodies won't necessarily protect you against catching it a second time. You can catch it, and the antibodies might not kick in. You can catch it, and it's a different variant, and your antibodies are not effective against the new variant. We know that. There are lots of people who catch it a second time and then die. So don't. But yeah, antibodies don't keep you from catching it. Antibodies will theoretically keep you from getting too sick.
have antibodies.
They're essentially less effective than the vaccine. And every study that's come out, including the Cleveland Clinic, and I keep going over this, Hannity is saying, hey, the Cleveland Clinic says you don't need the vaccine if you've already gotten COVID. No, it says the opposite. The Cleveland Clinic says, yes, get the vaccine. Absolutely. This is a small study with healthy people. Get the vaccine.
So it's just, it goes back to COVID. There's no one size fits all for it.
No. And Will, we were talking about this in the green room a little bit.
Right. So protect yourself in as many ways as possible. Okay. Good recommendation. Get the vaccine. These people sitting on the couch talking to the people who won't get the vaccine, they should be saying, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. That should be their job right now. Oh, there was some shooting in Chicago. Yes, there are always shootings in Chicago. Yes, it's terrible. Yes, something should be done about guns in Chicago. Yes, something should be done about guns in the entire country. Yes, we get all of that, although they're not saying all of that. But right now, let's get everybody vaccinated so we can keep the country going, shall we? You know, America, the beautiful.
But we know where it started. Where does it end? How far does it go? How far will the government try to go to mandate that you must get a shot from Uncle Sam? And then once you do, show your green.
How far will the government go to try and save America?
Green screen or show your papers, as Joe Rogan talked about on his podcast. We may play some of that sound. It's a scary reality, and we may be much closer than people.
You and I were talking about this in the green room, and I think
it is not scary. When you go to a concert, you show them your ticket. There's very little scary about that, unless you're like have a phobia against reacting with other human beings, interacting with other human beings, erections with other human beings. It that could be scary. So like my daughter, she doesn't interact with anybody. She's scared of what? I think my face is just crooked. I think that must be what it. Wait, hold on. I'll hold my head crooked. There. Yeah. All right, moving on.
It's
Hold
an
on.
important
Oh, yes.
conversation. We are sort of putting ourselves in check.
Yeah.
Are we overreacting? Are we getting hyperbolic about this idea that we're going to have to show?
Anyone got big plans for this Sunday? Foxing Friends is boring me already.
A past
I suspected more outrage again about President Obama's party, and I was ready to be outraged with them because America. Here's the thing. I hope that the anecdotal evidence and the math is wrong on how much Delta is affecting children. I really hope it's wrong because I've been looking for evidence of that happening in the UK, and there seems to be some evidence of it affecting a younger crowd, certainly like 20 to 25 years younger, but not a lot of evidence, not a lot of stories from England on. It's a lot of people are called. Nobody knows that the UK is also called England sometimes. Um, I've been looking for the evidence. I haven't seen a lot of it of English doctors saying, "Hey, this is really, really affecting the kids." But here in the States, we're seeing story after story after story. And as I just posted on Twitter a little while ago, in Louisiana, the average age was 16 in June. Here in August, just a few days into August, the average age of child being admitted to the hospital is now 5. So it's now become this childhood disease. The Delta variant seems to attack children. Now, that's only anecdotal from a single source system in Louisiana, but there are anecdotes like that from Florida, from Missouri, from Arkansas. There's enough of the anecdotal evidence to make it appear this way. That being said, I really hope that's wrong. Really, because we're about to open up the schools, and no, in Louisiana the schools are not open yet. There's a few districts that have already started, but we could see just a wash of disease. The biggest school districts in Florida just decided we're going to have a mandate, but because of Governor DeSantis's executive orders, they can't say mandate. So there's going to be a mandate in Orange County, for instance, in Florida. Yes, if you're coming to school, you have to wear a mask, unless the parents decide that you don't have to wear a mask. And they don't have to give a reason. Just like, okay, you absolutely 100% have to wear a mask. You don't want to? Okay, that's fine. It's just, now I don't know. In school, for example, first off, are the teachers supposed to monitor which kids have the permission and which kids don't have the permission? Teachers have other stuff to do. But will there be the peer pressure of everyone else is wearing a mask? Does that kid go like, I don't want to be the only one with a mask? And are you going to have kids? I can imagine being the poor kid. Not that my parents were ogres in any way whatsoever, but I can imagine being the one poor kid in the class that the parents are like, my son won't wear a mask. And then I'm like sitting there, everybody else has a mask on, and now you're standing out like a sore thumb in a classroom, and your parents absolutely will not allow it. You're just like, oh God, I'm just gonna and sit there like this in the back of the class the entire time.
Sport to get in anywhere. And you and I were looking historically. What about the flu? What about the flu shots? Do you have to show things? There's, of course, MMR, which kids have to go to public schools. But this is different. Truthfully, we're not being hyperbolic because you don't have to show your flu vaccination every year to get in someplace new.
To go eat.
You have one lifetime vaccination for measles, mumps, and rubella. One time. Now, this is a vaccine
I want to say one of those is like a dual shot, but okay.
Right now that apparently needs a booster.
This is different, though. This is different. But by the way, no, there are no boosters as of yet in this country. Right now, you get the one. If you're a kid, you get your Pfizer, but that's 2 shots. But yeah, once you're done, as of right now, no, there are no boosters for Pfizer. There probably will be down the line. But and I've never had to show proof of a vaccine. I mean, of a flu vaccine to go to school. That's never been a thing. With my kids, I don't know. Maybe they require flu vaccine shot evidence somewhere in some school district, and that would be something where you have to do it every year. However, I do remember every year having to get a physical, having to go to a doctor's office, which took a lot more time and planning than going just to, oh yeah, pull in, get a vaccine in your arm. 15 minutes later, yeah, I hear.
Maybe every 6 to 9 months, and that's required to basically be a free citizen in the society. President Trump was on Unfiltered with Dan Bongino last night talking about you can understand that the vaccine is a good development. At the same time, retain your love of freedom. Listen.
Okay, but you should also be retaining the vaccine in your body. Trump is such a waffler on this, but he's that way on everything.
I have to be a big vaccine fan because I'm the one that...
He has to be. He's apologizing for his miracle.
Got it done so quickly. We got it done in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 years. They would have never even gotten it done. So I'm a big fan. At the same time, I'm a big fan of our freedoms. And people have to make that choice for themselves. And I would recommend that they get it and they get it done and they're being protected.
That's the right balance. If you've been vaccinated, you're protected. Sure, could you transfer it? We understand more about that, possibly. But at the
slept in. Jojo, it's like 8:30 in the morning. That's not really sleeping in. But okay, good for you. Good morning.
At the end of the day, take responsibility for yourself and let other people exercise their freedoms.
Right. Take responsibility and get the vaccine. It's your responsibility as part of a free society to keep other people from dying if you can. How do you do that? You get a vaccine. Maybe you'll get a headache for a few hours. Maybe you'll get a sneeze the next morning. I had a fantastic nap. The thing is, I don't know if it was the vaccine that kind of made me tired, because there are days where I just go take a nap. Just the other day, I went, was it yesterday? Yesterday, I ended up taking a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. It was great. It might have been a 1-hour nap. I don't know. I didn't even keep, it was Saturday. Like Saturday is any different for me. I didn't keep track of anything. I just you know what? I could fall asleep right now. And I hadn't been vaccinated that morning that I know of. But the government now, they're sneaky. Here's what I've said many, many times. Put the vaccine into Bud Light. You've got yourself, you're done. At least with the evangelicals. Uh-oh. Not sure what happened there, but everything just went away. Okay, well, I don't know. I wanted to see the outrage about Obama's birthday. Let's see. Is there anybody in a diner? I don't know what happened here. Hold on, kids. Let's come back here and let's make that small and we'll open it right back up. And is it just done? We're just done with watching that? All right, hold on. Let me close the browser. Close, yeah, all the tabs, close them down. Anybody got plans today? Anybody doing something interesting today? Yeah, theoretically, you would want to, don't ever show this message again. You would want to do good things for the country, and good things for the country involves not killing people. But no, not interested. Not interested. Let's see if they'll let me watch Sunday mornings now. Thinking about it. And let me watch it picture in picture, but it's just a blank screen. There we go. Okay,
billion. That's over a third of it.
Okay, so here's Kevin Kramer. They're going to be talking about the infrastructure and probably how much it costs, not mentioning that Trump increased the national debt by $8 trillion. Here we go.
Remake the economy.
It wasn't quite $8 trillion, but it was a ridiculous amount. But he's the king of debt, as he's claimed.
So why did 17 GOP senators vote to proceed? On the baser end of the scale, here's the dirty little secret. The bill fundamentally amounts to a heap of spending, and some Republicans can spend.
This is an article by Kimberly Strassel. She's one of the worst.
with the best of Democrats. Let's ask one of those senators who voted yes to this bill. Joining me right now is North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. He sits on the Senate Banking and Armed Services.
It's like Kevin's are 50-50. There's a lot of us. Some of us are pretty cool. Some of us are not.
Services committees. Senator, why are you in favor of this bill? Are you betraying the Republican base?
Not at all, Maria, and thanks for the opportunity. In addition to those two,
but he's in favor of the bill, which is this is going to be interesting. Possibly, remember we watched Bill Cassidy really just slap Laura Ingraham verbally around.
Committees. They also serve on the Environment and Public Works Committee and happen to be the ranking Republican on the Transportation, Highway and Transportation Infrastructure Subcommittee. And just to do a little math for Kim, who's generally very, very bright, we have, in addition to the bill that came out of our committee, and then this compromise of the 1.2 trillion, 450 billion, that's over a third of it, is not just infrastructure, it's roads and bridges specifically. In addition to that, there's ports, waterways.
Yeah, and it is. It's actually about 510 if you include, or 500, is it 550? I think it's 550 if you include basically the new version of rural electrification, which is high-speed internet across the country, even out in the middle of nowhere. This has been a goal for years. A lot of farming equipment actually can be controlled remotely through the internet, but you need basic connections in order to get that done. Cell towers, 5G, which, by the way, is amazing. But my daughter now has internet off the 5G. It's just a box, plugs into the wall. There's no cables going into the wall, except, of course, for the power cord. Even when she lost power, though, she was still getting really, really fast internet. We're talking about like 200 megabytes per second just coming in off of the box, not in off a wire somewhere, just off the 5G network. It's pretty impressive. So you program your big tractors, your haulers, whatever you're using to the balers with the farm equipment, and it drives itself around your fields. It's pretty cool. Which then theoretically decreases the cost of the crops, which then keeps food cheap, and that's good for the peoples.
Railroads, airports, broadband, all of which are critical to the movement of goods and services around this country and around the world. We couldn't get North Dakota soybeans to South Korea if we didn't have ports in the Northwest.
There's Maria with her papers. They never shut down her mic. It's just always she's shifting papers around, which is weird because I don't know why. She doesn't refer to anything really. She doesn't. If she did, you'd think she'd have some reasonable comments and questions.
Pacific Northwest, and we certainly couldn't get pasta to New York without trucks getting the wheat from the field to the bins and then off to the mills and the factories. So I like Kim Strassel a lot. I think she's very bright. She's just very, very wrong on this one, both in the math and in the purpose of it.
Well, wrong. Let's look at what's in the bill. First of all, let me ask you, is there any money in this bill that goes to the border? Is there any acknowledgement from the Biden administration that we're in a border crisis and he needs to address it? Any money here in the border? Because I see resilience and water storage, environmental remediation, energy department, power infrastructure, electric vehicles, nuclear companies, a lot of beginnings to the Green New Deal.
Well, first of all, cybersecurity and resiliency of the grid is not exclusive to the Green New Deal. I think we've all experienced the problems with a lack of resiliency to our energy infrastructure. I mean, the Colonial...
That's correct.
Pipeline cyber attack was a pretty good example of that. Now, are there some things that Democrats like? For sure. Are there some things missing that we would love? Of course there are. But this is a 50-50 Senate. Democrats have a majority in the House and the White House. So you're going to have to take some of those things to get all the other really good things. And all of those other things that you've referenced aren't, again, exclusively democratic principles. There are some other things some of those things that contribute to the overall infrastructure of our country. And this is all.
I'm glad they've got some file footage of constructions and highways, because otherwise, how would we know what they're talking about?
Hard infrastructure, Maria. You might argue with some of it. I don't like the electric vehicle charging stations, for example. If I was king, I wouldn't support that. But fortunately, our founders gave us something other than a king.
Well, you're not a king. None of the Republicans are king, but it certainly seems like the Democrats act like kings, in addition to all of.
Well, no, we're having a bipartisan bill. So they're not acting like kings. None of the Democrats are acting like kings.
That money beginning
again, this doesn't need to happen. All of the bipartisan bill could be taken Democrat only and put into the massive infrastructure, whatever plan you want to call it, $4 trillion, and then just passed through reconciliation. The Republicans do not have to be involved here. This is all a political show. Plus, why not help out the Republicans?
Green New Deal. It also dictates.
The Green New Deal it's too far too fast is the general thinking amongst those who are not totally in favor of the Green New Deal.
Rules in areas that have traditionally been managed by local authorities, like drinking water, even as it muscles in on private sector enterprises.
Well, the problem with letting the local authorities manage some of these things is that there's a lot of local authorities in this country, and some of them really suck at doing their job.
Like broadband. So once again, we see the Democrats taking power away from the governors and putting it on the federal level. Is that fair?
It is not fair. It may be fair in a couple of areas, regards to broadband, for example, or water, for example. But here's one thing that I fought really hard for: permitting reforms, such as maintaining the permitting reforms that Donald Trump put in as an order. Remember, he had the rule that created the one federal agency or one federal decision rule that took 10-year projects down to 2 years. Remember that whole 10 years to 2 year argument? Well, Joe Biden repealed that on the very first day in office. We are codifying it in this law for roads and bridges. That's a major reform to permitting, along with agency coordination.
Paperwork, paper, shuffle, paper.
It's what allows us to agencies to do things collaboratively and collectively rather than consecutively.
Just flipped open a binder.
Shortening the time frame. It extends the
more papers. Just turn off your mic, Maria.
The permitting council that was implemented about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's for large private sector infrastructure projects that include water projects, large highway projects, Corps of Engineers projects. So there's some major reforms there that would never have been agreed to by Democrats. Now, with regard to the southern border, obviously we're not going to get Democrats to agree to a bill that builds a wall. I think that would be pretty cool. But why not?
Why not? Why?
Well, they won the election, Maria. Really, you have to ask why not?
Why not just work for the American people? We've got a wide open border. We've got
It's not wide open. By the way, no one's taken down the wall that Trump put up. The wall that's almost finished. No one's taking it down. It's completely ineffective. Remember how there's millions and millions of people crossing the border every day? According to you, there isn't. But there's the wall. We have Trump's wall.
6,000 people coming across the border every single day, 210,000 apprehended in the month of July. Why not demand that they fix the border before anything else? And by the way, are these pay-fors fictional? I mean, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says that the infrastructure plan will add $400 billion to the deficit. Kim writes in the Journal that all of these pay-fors are actually fictional. And let me just end this question with President Trump's commentary on it, because...
And she's wrong, and whatever Trump says is going to be wrong here.
President Trump also had a statement on the infrastructure package, and he says Joe Biden's infrastructure bill is a disgrace. It will be used against the Republican Party in the upcoming elections in 2022 and 2024. It will be very hard for me to endorse anyone foolish enough to vote in favor of this deal. And you say?
Well, he didn't give one reason why it's a bad deal, other than it's Joe Biden's. And I understand that, and I understand his frustration, and he's obviously got influence and has a legitimate opinion. But the fact of the matter is the American public, including the vast majority of Republicans, are very supportive of this. Everybody from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable to my local convenience stores and labor unions.
Paper shuffling, paper shuffling, paper shuffling. Maria, shut down your mic.
support this bill. There's some nearly 200 organizations that have come out in support of this bill. We need roads and bridges. We're falling behind our competitors, particularly China, with regard to transportation.
I wonder if she's going to say the stupid part out loud here about how we can't give Biden the win.
Infrastructure. It is what moves goods and services around the world. So I think he's wrong on this
there's
issue.
a lot of support for this on both sides. Definitely a lot of support in this. I get that. Real quick on these amendments, how much of the revenue raise is coming from new regulations and fees around crypto? And tell me specifically when you are going to open the door for this debate on the $5.5 trillion spending plan. Are you trying to get this through by Wednesday of this upcoming week?
Well, we would like to get it through by Wednesday, preferably by Monday, and better yet today, if it's at all possible. In terms of opening the door, the Democrats are going to do a much larger jam it down your throat, tax and spending, reckless deal. There's nothing that's going to stop that from.
Like if there's something being voted for democratically, it's jamming it down your throat because you don't like it. So, democracy.
Happening. By passing this, however, we take hard infrastructure off the table for them because that's part of the negotiation with the moderate Democrats. And we make the next deal much more difficult politically for moderate Democrats to support. So we're actually, in passing this, I think, have created a political advantage for moderates and for conservatives.
They haven't.
In this country, because if we don't do this, the other outcome would be, why would moderate Democrats ever trust or negotiate with Republicans?
He's avoiding the crypto question altogether.
Again, while they're in the majority, when they could just blow up the filibuster, and we will be giving them every argument to do so, Maria. So I think we're going to get this through. I don't expect that we'll get final passage before probably.
He is correct about that. If we don't. This could have been the end of the filibuster. It's too bad, actually. I hope this falls apart. Just so that the Democrats have an actual excuse. If this doesn't go through, the Democrats can then just say, okay, we're getting rid of the filibuster because roads and bridges, people. The Republicans don't want you to have roads and bridges. So, Republican senators, listen to Trump.
Late tomorrow or maybe even Tuesday morning. And it'll be a
I know that my microphone situation sucks right now. Sorry.
Good move in the right direction, and then they're going to open up the floodgates. I don't think there's any question. And at which time we will use this bill and every other argument possible to fight against the real opponent here, and that is the progressives in the Democratic Party that are running their organization.
Yep. All right, Senator. Great to get your insights on this. Thanks very much. We will be watching what.
Okay.
This means for the law.
Let's just see if anything else happens in this show. Who we got? Who comes? Oh, Elise Stefanik. Oh, yeah, we'll listen to Elise Stefanik because she's one of the crazies. Let's see here. What are we talking about? Is she still on the phone? Okay, yeah, let's do Elise Stefanik, and then I think we'll just wrap it up. We'll zoom through Elise. Here we go.
A pandemic of the unvaccinated as its administration readies for more rules at any moment. Joining me right now is the third-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. She is New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik on the phone this morning. And Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. I want to get your take on our civil liberties. This is a major issue. New York City just became the first major city to require proof of vaccination at restaurants, performances, and gyms. De Blasio is on his way out. What are you thinking in terms of where we are with COVID and the potential for more lockdowns?
Well, first of all, every American should be outraged. We're seeing the
First of all, thank you for having me on your show. That's the first thing you're supposed to say, but okay.
Chipping away of our civil liberties across the country, and New York City, unfortunately, is ground zero for this. Now our restaurant owners are becoming law enforcement officers and having to make the tough decisions as individuals are coming in with vaccine cards.
We're not going to do Trump right now. We'll do Trump later.
Some of them are counterfeit cards. This is not the role of our restaurants. We also should.
I might be playing hockey, and if I don't get asked to play hockey, then I'll be going to a tennis match. So I don't have time for Trump right now, but we'll do Trump later.
Not have policies that segregate those who have been vaccinated or not vaccinated. And the other group of constituents I'm hearing from, Maria, is concerned parents. this discussion about getting back to school in person. We all want to make sure our kids get back to school in person, but there's already discussions about a mask mandate, which is not based upon science. We know that our kids, so few are affected by COVID. So there are concerns, and unfortunately, I think this is the overall politicization.
Wait, no. There she goes with the so few kids are affected by COVID. That's just not true.
Of the CDC.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if we're going to be sitting in fear until the 2022 midterm elections, conveniently, Congress.
Oh, yeah, just like how right after the election, COVID magically went away and the governors didn't do any, they all released all the lockdowns and all the masks and everything. That happened the day after election day. Do you guys remember that? Trump said it would happen, that everybody would forget about COVID. And here we are in August of 2021. And sure enough, no one's talking about COVID. I wasn't paying attention. What are they talking about right now?
Woman, because now you have obviously audits going on. The last time you were with me, you said that you supported the audit going on in Arizona. We know that Michelle Obama is teaming up with Stacey Abrams for this federal election takeover legislation, H.R. 1. Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi says she's confident the Democrats will keep the House in 2022. Are you expecting a fair and free election for the midterms, or are we going to be on lockdown again, ensuring mail-in ballots are the standard?
There's nothing unfair about mail-in ballots. There's nothing unfree about it. It's multiple states have done it for years, and some of them Republican. They're fine.
Well, Republicans need to do everything we can to ensure free and fair elections. That means passing election integrity and election security laws at the state level. And I think it's the height of hypocrisy when you have the Texas state Democrats traveling, becoming super spreaders of COVID, and they're traveling in opposition to a common sense election security bill that would ensure secure and integrity of elections in the state of Texas. So we need to make sure that we're doing this in all states and do everything we can.
I don't think that any of those, first off, the Democrats leaving Texas is ridiculous. It's just a political stunt. It's just a waste of everybody's time. Oh, did we just lose everything? Oh, well. We can just, it's a phone call, so we can just listen to it in black. But whatever. Oh, yeah. I just want, did any of those Congress people from Texas, the Democrats that flew to D.C., did any of them end up in the hospital? And maybe we are done. Maybe, oh, here we go. We're back. Wow.
To fight back against the universal mail ballots where there's no signature verification, where there's no voter ID. So I am concerned, Maria.
There is voter ID. You have to have ID to register to vote. That's how it works.
That's why Republicans need to continue to speak out.
Yeah, I mean, look, you had a Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee chair yesterday warning that it was a closed-door meeting for the party, and they said that he said if the midterms were held today, they would lose the majority because they can't win on policy.
Well, he's exactly right. They are going to lose the majority, whether it's today or next November. Look at
it won't be today because they're not having an election today.
The Biden border crisis, look at the inflation crisis across the country, look at the unraveling of our civil liberties.
By the way, I think I told you guys this. In case you weren't listening, inflation did affect me. My salads that I buy baked salads and then I pimp them out, and I have a salad every day. And they were $3. They were $2.99, and just overnight they went up to $3.49, so 51-cent increase. And then they came back down to 2 for $6, and I got out my calculator and I was like, how much is 2 for $6? Because I bet it's more. It's actually only $3, so they've gone up by 1 penny. So inflation has really taken a bite out of my life.
The attacks on.
But by the way, I'm just going to rant just for a second on this. Why aren't we all talking about what are you doing with that extra $500 you're getting every month for your kids? You got kids? Biden is giving you $3,600 over the next year. Why are we not all hey, did you get your check? Why is this not part of oh, you've got 2 kids. Oh, so that's what? One of them is 3 and the other one is how old? 8? Okay. So that's what, $550? Good for you. Fantastic. What are you doing with that $550 every month? Meanwhile, oh, that guy lost his job. The factory closed down and it's not coming. Oh, that restaurant closed down, not coming back. By the way, I'm in Beverly Hills right now and just walking around last night in Beverly Hills. Last night, went for a walk. I think I saw three or four restaurants, businesses that are just gone, locked up, COVID, done. All of those jobs they're not coming back. Those people have to find jobs somewhere else. There's jobs available, etc. But we shouldn't be getting mad at people who lost their job because they're getting $300 when other people who voted for Trump are getting $600 a month because they've got 2 kids or 3 kids. Maybe they're getting $750 every single month just because they have kids. And but we hate Biden. Socialism. Give the money back. Donate the money. Donate the money to a food bank.
Our constitutional liberties. The American people know that this is not the right direction. We're moving in a far left socialist direction. We need to focus on economic growth, on reopening the economy safely, on ensuring
I wonder how many kids Elise Stefanik has.
Kids get back to school, and common sense policies, which is not what we're seeing from Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer.
Well, I mean, we saw an end to childhood poverty. So.
All right.
Oh, good morning, Pembroke. Hi.
All right, let's turn to Governor Cuomo. You are obviously representing New York and have a pinned tweet right now out saying you are calling for the arrest of Cuomo and, of course, an impeachment trial as well. His lawyers fought back yesterday. They took it to the mat. Here is one of them, Rita Glavin, on that presser we saw yesterday. Watch this.
He is 63 years old. He has spent 40 years in public life. And for him to all of a sudden be accused of a sexual assault of an executive assistant that he really doesn't know doesn't pass muster.
Oh, okay, so let's not believe any of the dozens of women. It's not dozens. I think it's 11, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm really not paying attention. After the press conference held by the authorities in New York, that they went down the list of things that he's been accused of, that multiple people have verified. It's like, no, you're done. It doesn't matter. It can be 2. It can be 1. We had to get to what, 58 before anybody took the allegations against Bill Cosby seriously? I was telling people Bill Cosby was an asshole for years. Cuomo is done. He should get done. Get out of there. Make a deal. Whatever it takes.
He needs to be treated fairly, and this would become, if you accept this report as is, without giving him the evidence, I tell you that is an irresponsible.
This is the feed coming in as
And a new standard for impeachment.
New standard for impeachment.
Because he's 63. So once you're 63, I guess once you turn 60, you're not accountable for anything that you've done in the past. So that works out.
Congresswoman, two systems of justice is what they're going with, which is, of course, what we've seen.
That's what every defense lawyer goes with. It's their job.
Against President Trump for the last 4 years. Your thoughts?
Well, it was a shameful defense. Instead of focusing on the legal aspects, they chose to shame multiple victims, including a New York State trooper who was sexually assaulted and sexually harassed. Look, this was an independent investigation conducted by the New York Attorney General that the governor asked for. Governor Cuomo asked for this investigation himself. He said he had full faith in this investigation. Over 175 witnesses, over 74,000 pieces of evidence. The evidence shows that he broke federal law, state law. In addition to the sexual harassment and sexual assault, there was illegal retaliation against the victims. In addition, Maria, this is not just when he was governor, but there have been instances where he sexually harassed women when he was HUD secretary. That's been out in the media as well. He needs to be impeached. The Democrats.
Okay, so the internet's now crapping out on me. You guys are probably getting death circles now. Let's see if it comes back. No, it's spiraling out of control. So I'm gonna say goodbye. I don't know if anybody can see me right now, but I'm gonna check out and get my day going here. It's time to get moving for me. And let's see. Yeah, no, the internet is not cooperating at all. I'm gonna jump into the chat room here. Internet dying. See you guys later. Okay, so I'll send that, and I hope that gets through. Let's see. And yeah, so now it's coming back, but it's going to start doing it again. So internet says the show is over. Everybody have yourself